Welcome to the Catholic Leadership Network podcast, where we connect the wisdom and experience of ministry leaders to the realities of ministry in the trenches. We journey with ministry leaders through all the hidden aspects that help us to become fruitful ministers. Here at the Catholic Leadership Network podcast, we discuss the stuff that no one told you about Catholic ministry and strive to help ministry leaders succeed from the beginning. Our hosts are Christy Cavanis, the Director for Missionary Discipleship for the Diocese of Cleveland, and Sarah Jarzembowski, the Director for Marriage and Family Life at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Parish in Crofton, Maryland. Please show your support for our efforts by clicking like and subscribe and commenting below. And now here are Sarah and Christy.
Here we go.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Here we go, you guys.
Here we go.
And welcome to the Catholic Leadership Network podcast, everybody. How to be on the fly on the wall. Oh, today we have with us Desi Gould. I'm going to have to read this. I don't know Desi, and I am so thrilled to be here with her and to get to know her today. So Desi has been active in ministry throughout the Diocese of Cleveland for the last 20 years. She's served many roles in youth ministry, but a favorite has been the leadership for North Coast Spirit Teens Encounter Christ. Desi as a board member and chairperson for 10 years. Teens Encounter Christ, is that like tech?
Yes.
I did tech I love tech. Tech is the best. Okay, I probably should have read this beforehand. This is all live, folks. Okay, wait, where was I? Tech is the best. If you ever get the chance to go on tech, folks, go on a tech, give your teens the opportunity for tech. Tech is the best. They also do tech for college students. The tech conference is the best. Tech Teens Encounter Christ is the best. They also do it for college students. The best, the best, the best, the best. Where am I? This is me looking for where I am on here. Here we are. Desi, you're a licensed counselor in Ohio. That's amazing. And you work with students regarding mental health, career counseling, and college admissions. Love this. This is going to be so much fun. Okay. Desi has a passion for discernment and a desire to share God's love for marriage and family. She's partnered with the Diocese of Cleveland Vocations Office in promoting true discernment, including co-hosting the podcast Created and Called. Awesome. So we're probably not like any podcast you've done already. And you do that with your do you do that with your husband?
Yeah, he was kind of like a special guest. Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Another ministry couple. My husband and I do frequently do stuff together too. So I love that. That's awesome. And you have 3 kiddos. You have Maria, Joseph, and is that Basilio or Basilio?
Basilio, but we call him Leo.
Leo. Aw, but Leo. Okay. Sorry, I couldn't see if there were 2 L's in there or not. All right. Together you guys focus on wait, where am I? Love of Christ, proud members of Holy Trinity in Avon, Ohio. And Desi has recently taken on the role of Director of Evangelization, God bless, for the Avon Catholic community, and started working on special programs with the Diocese of Cleveland's Office of Marriage and Family Ministry to help promote Catholic identity in the domestic church. Wow, we need to be friends because all of that. Evangelization, marriage and family life, Catholic identity in the domestic church, mental health, young adults, college students. Obviously, I just went nuts over tech. I'm going to tag tech and the tech crew because, yeah, I should have worn my tech cross. I still have my tech cross from when I went. I'll tag all my tech friends. I love it. So where do we go from here?
That was a lot. That was a long
lot.
list of stuff of things that, Desi, that you've done. But how did you get involved in ministry in the first place?
I mean, so quite frankly, for me, my faith formation started in high school. So thank God for that opportunity. I went to Holy Name High School. I was really active in campus ministry. And then just in time, I kind of became a member of St. Charles Youth Group. Joined there. I had people like Sister Denise leading the way. Met Father Joe Koopman, Father Damian Ference. He was a deacon at the time. Just a number of people in the diocese. Like God just kept putting the right people in my path to lead me. It was like he knew who I needed. So, and then Teens Encounter Christ shortly after that, and it just really kind of took off from there.
Nice. And then how did you get from being like the counselor at the high school to the director of evangelization at the partner parishes in Avon?
Oh, that is simply just God's plan, not mine whatsoever. Like, I really loved my work as a counselor. I considered I was very good at that. I say that in a humble way, but like I loved my work. I loved working with students. I did it for almost 20 years. I went to college for that. Um, all of my professional development was surrounded by that. So ministry was part of my life, but it wasn't necessarily my career,
Mm.
I guess in the traditional sense. And basically, I went to adoration and I got real sassy with Jesus because he made me that way. So I always tell him that's what you get. And I got
'Cause
real
that
sassy and I just
works.
said, yeah, I'm tired. Like you've placed something on my heart. I love what I do, but I know you are asking me to do something else. I don't know what that is, and I'm gonna need you to walk in that door and just I'm gonna need you to tell me. You get very directly, you need to tell me. And within 24 hours of that particular adoration, Father Vince Hawk called and he said, "There's something I've been wanting to ask you for a long time, and I think this is the time. I think the time's right now." And I told him the story. He obviously had no idea what was going on in my prayer life. And, I said, "Well, Father, that is pretty direct," and I told him to be direct. So, let me go talk to my husband about this, and we're gonna pray about this, and, but it does seem that Jesus is working in a very direct way, which is what I asked. His sassy daughter asked of him. So,
Yes.
there you go.
You know
Preach.
what? It's so funny you say that. There have been so many times that I've heard people that like they get frustrated. I mean, I get sassy with God too. I'm like, that's the things I'm not gonna repeat because I get that kind of sassy. But God knows our heart. And we just had a parish mission where the priest who gave us the parish mission was like, you got to bring all of that with you. All of
Hmm.
that junk with you when you come to mass and the sacraments and Eucharist, right?
Mm,
And all of that brokenness, that what you consider failure, that what you consider, all of your tiredness that you just talked about, all of that uncertainty that you mentioned, and sass, like we got to bring that. And I think the more we come to God with that, what the heck do you want from me, the more he's going to be like, okay, now that you've gotten whatever it is out of the way, we can
mm,
move forward.
Mm.
Now that you've
right.
gotten what you think you want out of the way, we can move forward. So how cool is it that you had that moment?
Yes. Amen. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Very, very cool. Very
And
cool.
Desi, you've only been in the new job like not even quite a year, right?
No, so I started officially July 1st of 2023, so that would have been my official, yeah, start date.
Yeah. How's the year been?
It's been, beautiful chaos.
I love
That's
it.
that's how I would describe
Accurate.
it. There's a lot of newness, a lot of newness. There's a lot of change. I'm in a community right now that is there's a lot of just change, but it's good stuff. But it can be a lot. It can be very overwhelming. It's funny though because when people ask me, oftentimes they'll say things like, "What do you miss? You miss counseling, and do you miss like?" Because I worked at I was at St. Ed's for 10 years, so they're like, "Do you miss the boys?" And then I have two colleagues whom I love very much, but it's like they're goofy men, and I'm always like, "Nope, don't miss the boys. I got them right here. We're good. It's all right." And I do, in truth, I do miss a lot of that. But at the same time, it's funny because God keeps just providing, like, He just keeps showing me like this beautiful like horizon that we're like walking towards. And it's been cool. So even in those struggling moments, there's definitely been a lot of beauty in it.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. What are some of those struggling moments for you? Can you share anything that doesn't call out any names or
Yeah, I mean, like, it's so funny, right? Because like, humanity gets in the way,
Ah,
just like in
Uh,
any counseling opportunity, if you're working with students and there's parents and then there's emotions and it's the same here, like, in parish communities come with people and people are messy. People are so messy, I'm messy. So then when we all are together, we're just a big mess.
oh
So,
yeah.
there's goodness in it, right?
yeah.
Like, there's so much goodness in it, but I just think there's just messiness and there's newness. So like when you have
Mm.
culture changes and shifts, right? That
Yeah.
is new and change can be scary. So like you're putting a lot of trust into people and you may not even know those people. And so I wouldn't like say there's anything particular other than just a lot of change, a lot of newness, and in all of that there's so much goodness, which is like kind of what keeps us going.
Yeah. Yeah. I think whenever there's change in the newness like that you were describing, it can be scary to people and they react to their fears in kind of funny
Mhm.
ways sometimes. Like sometimes people are defensive or they're a little brusque with
But
you or yeah,
yeah,
or they're super quiet and reserved and they don't tell you what's going on, which is also, I think, a whole set of difficulty that, you're trying to figure out in parish life of how can we get there, guys, together,
right.
right?
Right,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, Sarah, it looked like you were thinking.
Yeah, I'm just wondering in what ways has, what you learned in the counseling
Mm.
really prepared you for what you're doing in the parish? Like what have been some of those things that have carried over maybe in some surprising ways, some ways that you didn't even think that they might really connect?
I think that's so funny because the one thing is, in some ways, when I took on this role, I was like, oh my gosh, like I am doing an entire career shift.
Mhm.
And that was really scary for me, in truth. But then the more I'm in the role, there's so many things that overlap very naturally. Ministry is very interpersonal, it's very much about relationships,
Mhm.
regardless. And counseling is just that, right? So there is no doubt that one of the greatest gifts that I have received in my experience as a counselor is that in ministry I have the ability to form and create relationships with people and empathize and like have a greater understanding that I don't know I would have necessarily had I not had the years of counseling background. So it's
Yeah.
funny because I would not have I just wasn't connecting that initially, and then as, like, the months were going by, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is it." Like, there's so many overlaps here I just didn't realize.
Can
Yeah,
I
I
ask you
mean,
a
yeah.
question in that too? Sorry, Sarah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just was thinking of like some of the conversations that Sarah and I have on this show are with people that we're trying to set the bar for new folks in the field that like you,
Yeah.
ministry doesn't have to be a certain way. Like it doesn't fit a program or a box. And that's sort of like the theme on this season is like it doesn't fit the box. Do you think that your counseling background, because when you're counseling with somebody, there's a lot of different ways that that takes shape, and for this person needs these things and for that person they need
Mhm.
those things. Do you think that that's helped shape your view as you approach these relationships in actual ministry versus, differently than whenever you were in counseling, but in that vein, like having that freedom of thought of this doesn't have to look a certain way?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that I'm very grateful for it because people are layers,
Yeah.
and so much of ministry is connecting with the people that we're ministering to. And counseling is a lot of listening too.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of what ministry ends up being, and it's beautiful and it's good. So there's just a lot of layers, and I'm very grateful because I am telling you, it's so funny. I remember just thinking of this huge career shift. Like, is this really what Jesus wants me to do? He was very direct though. So, I mean, this is clearly what he wants from me because this is what,
Mhm.
you're like questioning things. And then as things begin to unfold and you start to see some of your experience or your gifts in that new role, it's like, "Oh, wait, like, I see those things. I'm so grateful I had that time in this particular
Yeah.
position or in this particular situation." Um, because it's just layers.
Mhm.
That's super cool.
I always
Yeah.
chuckle when we talk about people with layers because I always think of Shrek. I always think of Donkey and Shrek talking about layers and
Feel the
onions
layers.
and
Feel
parfait. And now I want parfait. We're all layers. And it's true. It's totally true. But that's why I chuckled a little bit because I hear Shrek and Donkey talking about parfait and onions. Anyway, So true. And I think, it's really great that you had the opportunity to have that with the guys at the high school and have this experience. What are some things that maybe we like I work at a parish, so I'm always looking for new tools and resources that I can use with families and parents and, kiddos and all of that. Are there like tactile resources that you have found that you've been able to take with you and maybe just shift a couple of things, maybe some language verbiage that makes it more scriptural based or more church based, or things that you've just practically started using, like just the practical application.
So it's so funny because well, I have a couple thoughts on that. One is just people. Like I find that the whole round table discussion, calling people, talking to people, and seeing like what are you doing, what's working, what's not working, and having these very honest conversations
Mm.
have been wildly helpful. The other thing that I would say very recently, I started not just praying about, but kind of just like reflecting on is like, well, what do I love? What do I love in my own home? And what are those things that I could bring on like a larger scale? So one of the things I ended up doing it with students this week with reconciliation. I was invited to like work with our second graders as they prepare for reconciliation. And so I showed a clip from Moana, and it's like it's a clip at the end and we talked about it. I was like, I love Moana. Okay.
Same.
Just
So
game
many,
on.
every
Oh,
Catholic, good Catholic should love Moana. Period. End of
yeah.
conversation. Yeah,
There's
just
so much theology that is in there. It's just incredible. I'm gonna start doing presentations on the theology of Moana, but nonetheless,
I think that's
I
another
took this.
podcast, ladies. I think
I'm just well, I'm
podcast
also
on
gonna just
Moana.
say I have an RCIA group that we did the process with that they know like all of the pieces of Moana where the sacramental and yeah.
It was
It was so
incredible.
fun. Yeah.
But it was
Anyway.
funny because I don't know why I'll be honest, I don't know why I didn't think of this before. Like, I was kinda like, "Why am I not just using things that I already love or my kids love or, like, that we?" Because
Mhm.
then it's connecting with them, right? My son is in 2nd grade, so I'm like, "I know this." So, it was so awesome because we kinda did, like, the last scene, and the kids were like, "Well, that's the lava monster." And I'm like, "Yes, but do you see how, like, when the lava monster's heart is restored, how Jesus restores us in reconciliation, how all the gunk of the monster fell out and ended up being a beautiful island. You're a beautiful island. You don't wanna be a lava monster." And it was just like it was just awesome. And so it was just funny because you asked that question. I'm like, I've been really reflective on like, what are the things that are in our home that we would talk about and do? And why can't I bring those in a larger
Mhm.
scale?
You can.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah. That's
absolutely.
awesome.
Did you have the one kid that says, "But I wanna be a lava monster"? I know the
No, they were
one.
pretty
I
bought in.
just
It was a good group.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
because I have the one that was like, "I wanna be a lava monster." Like,
That's
I'm
amazing.
sure you do so and so.
I
I
think that
guess
it's
they're good.
well, I always say to them that it's the Moana's coming across and imagine that she's saying the words of God to you.
Mm,
Remember who you are.
Oh,
mhm.
I know who you are, and I've come
Yeah.
to reclaim you as my own. Like think of it that way.
mhm,
So
Yes.
I did it
It
with
was so
confirmation
good.
too. Yeah,
mhm,
So
same.
good.
Good stuff. Good
mhm.
stuff. All right. So you were just mentioning the little small people that are at your house, and ministry life can be crazy and hectic and chaotic. How are you managing boundaries with family life and your work?
So, I mean, the truth is I'm still figuring that out. I mean, the reality is we are in this, what, a little over 6 months. I mean, we're figuring it out still as a family. There's a lot of gifts that come into this. I mean, one example is I am physically more present to my children in the fact that I'm at the school. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm on the campus where they
Mhm.
go to school. So, but it's interesting because, like, I think, oh, you guys can see me more. Like, I'm right here. Like, I'm so accessible, right? Um, because our offices, the way it works is so there's 2 full schools, 2 full parishes, but the parish offices are located on one campus, and then the rectory for the priest is located on the other. So it's kinda like a balancing act in general. So I happen to be located on the campus where my kids attend. So I think that's great, but then there'll be moments where it's like, I don't know, like a Valentine party, and my son's like, "Were you coming to the Valentine party?" I'm like, "You see me all the time." And he's like, "But I want you at the party as a mom, not as"
Oh, the lady
the
that works at the
evangelization
church.
person as the Jesus
Yeah.
person, as he says. So, I'm like, it's just
Interesting.
very interesting. So, yeah, I think we're still working on what that looks like, and it's fun because, like, in a lot of ways, they love it. Like, they love it, And then, but in other ways, they're like, um, wait, what do you mean you're going to be gone tonight? Because you're speaking at the PSR meeting, or so it is definitely like we're still figuring out what's that look like, because the one thing I will say that I do make very clear, and our Father Vince Hawk is very, very supportive of, is at the end of the day, my first vocation is as wife and mother.
Yeah.
That is my primary vocation. That's not going to change. So, now ministry is super beautiful and super important to me, and that's where God calls me. So then I am trying to find, and I think there's goodness in that, this is also a witness to my children. So I like, they come to things with me, even if they like are like, why do I have to go to that? And they end up loving it. But it's because like, this is our witness as a family. This is our witness. This is good and beautiful for you too. Like you should be a part of these things.
Yeah. That's
Mhm.
awesome. Are there any ways that you've been affirmed in your ministry over these last 6, 8 months or so?
Yeah, it's always like an interesting moments, like very interesting moments. Like, you're at a mass and then one of the parishioners comes up to you, and like I write one of the reflections in the bulletin. So they'll say, oh, I just loved reading about, sometimes I forget what I write about too. So they're like, I loved reading about your husband's fishing, love for fishing and whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Thanks. Um, so there's definitely really cool moments where like they're just unexpected. A lot of the teachers are so beautiful in the school will say, oh my gosh, like you bring such life, and we love these. Oh, well,
Here we go. And intermission is over. Hop to it, ladies.
Yeah. Sorry,
I
sorry, sorry, sorry.
no, I had an issue with my computer. I'm telling you, I had an issue with my computer and was like praying over my computer this past weekend, because I was like, I feel like this was an attack on me, these electronics sometimes.
Oh, I'm telling you,
Well, the
technology is so
adversary comes
fun.
at us at all sorts of weird
Mm-hmm.
ways. So,
Only way that
That's
it works.
right.
lady, my computer. But yeah, now we've had an intermission, everybody. So that's the jump in our weirdness. But we're back. And we were talking about
Ministry
stuff and
affirmations.
things.
Yeah. And going off the rails, you know.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I will say, so I think this is one of the things I was saying was like the teachers, like there's just across the board, it's definitely been affirming in a lot of ways, and just seeing how the impact certain moments have had. So one of the things that our students have started doing recently is they've been going to Damascus for their middle school retreats. There was some pushback on that, of course, because it's new and like we don't really, some people are not familiar with it or they don't know. But like on returning, the kids loved it, the parents loved it, the faculty loved it. It's been amazing. So it's like, it's just interesting how like the affirmations typically come after you're working hard, there's pushback, there's struggle, right? And
Mm.
then there's success, and you're like, yes. So I think it's always
Mhm.
beautiful and good when they encounter Christ in a way that is affirming for the people that are witness to it.
Yeah, 100%.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you brought up Damascus. I'm going to be going to a retreat tomorrow
Yeah,
with some of the Damascus missionaries. They're going to be coming in for our middle school day.
so fun.
So I hope so. It's going to be raining, so so hopefully we'll have some indoor fun. But
Yes.
I know the adversary's coming after us, so it's going to be
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Yeah.
For
amazing.
sure.
So I know how that works. Whenever we're doing the right thing, other things get really hard,
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, we've got two amazing young ladies that are going to be coming, and they're going to come back and they're going to tell everybody all about it. And I can't wait, because next year is going to be awesome, even
Yeah.
better. So it's that's just the way it is. So I'm looking forward to meeting some of the Damascus folks, because I've heard now from a couple of people how awesome that ministry is. So
So good.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
good.
Yeah, yeah. So what are some of your go-to resources, Desi? Like when you're working with like whatever, pick a ministry. What are some of your go-to resources?
Go-to resources. First, it's always people. Like
Mm-hmm.
I go to the people that I know. My best friend Catherine is just like a rock star, and she's always who I go to. I'm like, okay, because like even if she doesn't know, she's the person that knows who to go to. So she'll
Yeah.
say, "Oh, have you looked at this? Have you looked at that? Did you talk to this person? What about that?" She'll like be forwarding me emails from
What
different
do you mean when
ministries.
you weren't looking?
What?
I was pointing at Sarah when she wasn't looking, and then she looked up and she was pointing at me, and I was like,
That's amazing. See? It's so good. Like, first
Mentors are so
resource, find a
important.
person.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, your person in
Mentors are
ministry.
important, and
Yeah.
people that you can like say, I don't have a fully formed idea.
Yeah,
Right.
bounce stuff
I
off
actually
of,
did
right?
that yesterday with a bunch of parents of middle schoolers. And I said, look, I don't have a fully formed idea. I don't even know if this is like a this year or a next year idea, but I need to get it out of my head and out. So you
Mhm.
need to tell me if it's a yay or nay, if it's a this year or next year, if this is a seed of something good, or it's like, nah, this doesn't fit with this parish, right? Like it
Right.
might be a good idea for somebody else. Just put it in the drawer for somebody else. So like sometimes you just got to get it out of your head. So yeah, your people that you can just bounce even unfully formed ideas off of, which sometimes, well, that's kind of how this started. I was like Christy, I'm like, this might be wacko.
Yeah.
This is not really a fully formed idea, but I think there are those people too, like this is not a fully
100%.
formed idea. And so there's people that can help you pull out the formation of that idea, and pull out the,
Mhm.
well, what if and what would happen, and the wonder. I wonder what would happen if, and I wonder who, and I like your connector idea, like who are the other people to get involved in.
Mhm.
My pastor keeps asking, who are the other people? Bring it
Mhm.
to staff meeting and see who else on staff, who else the staff members think should be part of this.
For
Like who else
sure.
does staff know?
For
So
true.
I think that, yeah, you're right on the people, but I think it's also about the mentorship and the people you can kind of dump on
Yeah,
without them
so good.
taking the dump. You know what I mean? Like that sounded gross, but without people like taking that on. Don't look like that, Christy. You know what I mean?
I wasn't going there until you said it, and then I was. So, and then I was like, oh,
Ew. So what else do you do, Desi? It sounded like you had another idea in there.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I have a giant whiteboard and I write a lot of things. It causes most people anxiety actually. So it's not it's it helps me because I like to write down all the thoughts or the random things that come to me. I call it the spirit just moving.
Yeah.
And so
Mm.
I will say that's probably one area. I do a lot of reading when I can. I have a young family, so it's hard, but I really, really try to stay up on what other ministries are doing, what's working, what's not working. I really, really try to be on top of that. Um, and really in that taking care of myself because I find the best work that I can do is I can't minister from an empty place.
Mm,
Mm.
true.
Yes.
You can't give what you don't have, right?
Mm-hmm. For sure, which is very big, much like my vocation being my number one. Really, in order to do the work I do, my faith and my faith formation continues to be a very priority, a major priority too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. What's the hardest thing starting in like being in ministry these last months?
For us, I mean, I would think for us, a lot of it is foundational. So a lot of the things that are happening in the community I'm serving are new. And that means a new staff. So a lot of us are new at the work we're doing in general. Now, I think quality is really important versus quantity. So you got a lot of passion,
Yeah.
um, but a relatively small staff for the population, right? For the number of people we serve. However, it's a passionate staff, but it's a new staff. So it's also like everyone's still trying to figure out like what their roles are and what that looks like in terms of PSR, the day schools, the parish life, like all these ministries that are happening, ministries that want to start happening. So I would say the number one challenge has been a part of a young new staff, which is also in a weird way one of the greatest benefits. So it's a challenge and a benefit all at once.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at the time, and despite our intermission, as if we were going on and on for hours, we were actually closer than we thought. We have to wrap it up with the question of, what do you wish that you knew from the very beginning? Just still new for you. So,
Yeah, I mean, I would say for me, and this is just in general, I have to slow down. I would say
mm,
this applies to my home life, just as much as it applies to ministry. I tend to be somewhat like a bulldozer at times, and I want to get like all of it in and all of it done, and I want it to be done right, and I want it to be a certain way, and I want like, and I find that if I just slow down enough to listen to what he's asking me to do, things are far better.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So slowing down, I would say would be the number one thing across the board. It's okay to just slow down and trust that all of it is going to be just as it's supposed to.
Is there anybody that could have told you that? Do you think, like, when you were first starting out, like, hey, Des, when you're getting about this work, the one thing that you want to remember is just take it easy, slow down.
No, no one could have told me that. Not one person. And they could have. People may have actually said that. And there is
Oh, wow. They
no
could have
way
heard it.
I would have taken that in. Now that's again part of who I am. I just tend to be on the move and quick and like burning the candle from both ends. And that's just in my nature. I've been like that forever. It's not
Yeah.
new. Again, that's the balancing piece that I've always had to work on and I continue to work on. But once I learn something, that is effective.
Yes, right? Yeah, I feel like I'm the same way.
In time, I'm figuring it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other final thoughts there?
No, this was really great. I'm really appreciative of you coming on and getting to know you. This is really great, and I hope that we get a chance to chat again and meet in person. This would
Yeah,
be really great. So,
I love
um,
that.
yeah, this is wonderful. I took 2 pages of notes. So I'm always learning new things, and just such a good reminder to slow down, especially during Lent. In
Mm,
March. It's so important to keep an eye on just how much time we're putting in at the parish. My husband and I realized that we have together 5 days in the month of March before
mhm.
Easter. 5 days together where he doesn't have anything and I don't have anything, and we can actually be together.
Yeah,
Yeah, we didn't plan so well this year during Lent. So something for us to pay attention to as we move forward. So slow down is a good reminder for folks. And we just need to pay attention to our calendars a bit, our personal calendars as well as our professional calendars. So thank you for that wonderful reminder and joining us today. Thank you for your patience and
yeah,
care.
thank you.
And
Thank
So
thank
good
you
to have you.
you.
for joining us today. Hopefully we'll have this spliced together and up and it won't be too awkward, but thanks for joining us and sticking it out, everybody. We really do appreciate you joining us week after week when we have our podcast. And please do share this out. If you find the conversation is something that's really helpful to the people that you're working with at your parish and in your ministries, share it. Share this podcast, share our Facebook page, share our YouTube channel, and wherever you gather your podcasts, feel free to share this out as well. If you have any comments about what you heard today or on any of our previous podcasts, feel free to pop it into the comments below on that podcast or just drop us an email. We're happy to have a conversation with you. We're happy to really shape our conversations to your needs. So thank you again for your continued encouragement. And Desi Gould, thank you for joining us and sharing the Gould life with us. I
That's
love your
right.
sign behind you, the Gould life. All right, take care, everybody. Thank you very much and have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining today's podcast. Please click the like and subscribe. And if you find this important to the conversations you're having in your local ministry, please share and join the conversation in the comments below. Thank you, and we'll see you next time on the Catholic Leadership Network podcast.